Well, we're just coming up to the almost lunch break for the Dr Ranson tribunal today. They're just taking another couple of minutes and then finishing off this morning. But we've been hearing some more interesting items today, Chris. I mean, what do you make of it?
Yeah, well, at the very start of today's hearing, we heard that nobody's still quite, I mean, this is quite amazing. They still haven't quite worked out who employed Catherine Magson. However, the respondent did say that this would in no way impact the claim as far as they were concerned. That, in other words, liability was there regardless of what Catherine Magson's position actually was.
Well, it's still quite incredible that they don't actually know.
Yeah, and if we can just cover one other point that we were discussing yesterday, and that was this matter of whether or not concocted documents would ultimately result in the tribunal wishing to refer the matter for further investigation by other bodies. What I might, or what I should have said yesterday, really, was that it's important to take into account that even if the matter was passed to the police, ultimately the Director of Prosecutions would make the decision as to whether a prosecution would occur. But I think it should be borne in mind that the Director of Prosecution sits inside the AG's office, and the AG was the source of the requirement to go to an appeal to try to stop the tribunal looking at the issue of concocted documents in the first place.
So conflicted?
Well, yes, I would say that. Now, the people would immediately be up in arms and say, no, that can't possibly be the case. But in reality, in law and justice, any reasonable person would accept that perceptions are important. And for years and years now, the argument has stood solidly that the Director of Prosecution should sit outside of the AG's office and be separate to it. And that was my clear recollection, was that was the conclusion of the Constitutional, Legal and Justice Committee's report. And it now lies with Jane Poole-Wilson. I hope that action is now being taken to remove Director of Prosecutions from the AG's office. And if it hasn't thus far, and I'm not totally up to date on this, I'll be very disappointed. If it has happened, then, well, not before time.
Well, as for what we're hearing today, a lot of stuff is being rehashed, and it's important to remind ourselves how this lady was sort of sidelined at the time, and this is what's brought on this sort of angst that she's got, and obviously the trauma that's gone with it. I mean, to be shoved into a little room with a chair that was even broken, with no staff, no job to do, it's so traumatic, isn't it, to hear this again? Well,
the description, and it's not challenged, the description of the organisation, the department's behaviour was nasty, verging on the vicious, vindictive, and highly damaging to Dr Ranson. And one of the major issue today has been very much around both parties, that's both psychiatrists on either side. They both agree that significant damage has been done.
Yeah.
What they were arguing about today was how long that damage would apply to Dr Ranson. And there was an interesting point that came up during that discussion, that treatment shouldn't really begin until such time as the legal process is over. And it occurred to me that if, and here we go back to appeals, if government chooses to appeal the tribunal's judgment on the remedy, they are effectively occurring further damage to Dr Ranson, and that's accepted by both sides. And of course then we've also got the issue we've currently got, the tribunal called it a public inquiry, it's not, but there's a review currently in progress, which, if Dr Ranson brings herself to a position where she finds she can give evidence to it, that will further again delay the treatment that both parties agree that she's required to have.
And you can see the trauma today. There had to be a slight break just because the pressure that's on this woman at the minute of hearing this stuff back at us was just must be awful.
Well, it's awful for us, so goodness knows what it's like for her. Just dreadful.
And it was announced that she's going to be asked to give evidence to the actual COVID inquiry, which means it could also delay any more chance of treatment until she does that.
Well, it's a conundrum, this, isn't it? Because if she gives evidence and just drawn back into the trauma all over again, that could damage her. And yet, she is absolutely at the centre of everything that review needs to look at to arrive at a sound opinion. So it's troubling, isn't it?
It is.
It really is.
Okay, well that's really it for now. You're going to be there on Friday. We'll do another item of that on Tuesday, but don't wait for anything to come out for maybe months yet. That's what they were indicating, isn't there?
Well, did they say early summer?
Yeah.
Did I hear that correctly? That I mean, obviously the tribunal's got an awful lot of data to consider before coming to its conclusion, but the sooner the better now, isn't it, really, for everybody?